Mr. Chair, I would make my submission in the following structure. 1, the constitutional issues implicated by the bill and its provisions. 2, the unfounded premises of and justification for the bill. 3, the absurdity of provisions of the bill and a lack of understanding of the issues that the bill purports to speak to. And finally, my conclusion. Mr. Chair, it is our view that the bill violates Article 1, Clause 1 and 2 of the Constitution, the very first article of the Constitution, now, which upholds the sovereignty of the people of Ghana, in whose name, quote, in whose name and for whose welfare the powers of government are to be exercised in the manner and within the limits laid down in the Constitution. So the powers of government, including legislative powers, are to be exercised only in the manner laid down in the Constitution and within the limits laid down in the Constitution, irrespective of the number of people that may support the piece of legislation. The legislation must meet that first provision, fundamental provision of the Constitution. If it doesn't, by Clause 2 of Article 1, that bill or that legislation is void. It's void. It means it doesn't even exist in law. Now, the combined effect of these two clauses is that the Select Committee and Parliament as a whole has a duty it cannot shirk to ensure that any bill that comes before it, the first thing that it must determine is whether it has been introduced in Parliament in the manner laid down by the Constitution. And if it crosses that hurdle, Parliament and the Select Committee must interrogate and determine whether the bill and its provisions are within the limits, again, laid down in the Constitution. So, if the bill is introduced in a manner that is not laid down in the Constitution, that should be the end of the bill. It should be rejected. This is the force of the Constitution. Again, even if it is introduced in a manner laid down in the Constitution, but it is not, the provisions are not within the limits laid down in the Constitution, it is to that extent void. Our respectful submission here is that the bill has been introduced in Parliament not in the manner laid down in the Constitution. This is because this is a private member's bill. And under Article 108 of the Constitution, 2 and 3, it is the President or his agent who can introduce bills generally in Parliament. And where a bill, however, does not impose a charge on the consolidated funds or any public funds, then it may be introduced by a private member's bill. Now, it is clear from the reading of the provisions of the bill that the bill will impose extensive policing duties on the Ghana Police Service if the bill is to be effectively enforced. Secondly, the bill with its provisions for so-called therapy, a medical treatment, will require, in situations where the person responsible for the assault has no money, will require that the state steps in to provide medical services. These clearly impose costs, charges on the consolidated fund, and therefore ought not to have been introduced by a private member's bill. Yes, it is the case, and we admit that Article 108 states that if, in the opinion of the person presiding, the bill does not impose a charge on the consolidated funds or other public funds. That is the text of the bill, of the law, of the Constitution. However, as we all know, and any discretionary power that is granted any person exercising a public function, like a Speaker of the Parliament, under Article 296 of the Constitution, must be exercised in a reasonable and not non-arbitrary manner and without prejudice. And where it is clear that the Speaker of the Commission of Parliament, as in this case, has exercised his discretion unreasonably by concluding that the bill does not impose a charge on the public funds, when it is obvious and palpable that the bill imposes a charge on the public fund, that decision of the Speaker is, by Article 296 of the Constitution, unconstitutional. And let us make the point clear that we live in a country and a democratic republic where we are not ruled by men but by law. So the Speaker is not above the Constitution. He is subject to the mandatory provisions of the Constitution. And it is our view that the Speaker violated Article 108 of the Constitution when he allowed such a bill that clearly imposes a charge on public consolidated funds and public funds to be laid before Parliament by. So, that's the first point. Now,